As always, I'll share the recording and you have the agenda and slideshow with you. So let me go ahead again and share the attendance and the agenda. Last time I had a meeting, every time I went to put something in the chat, I would poof off the screen if you were in the Star Math one with me. So if the weird things start happening, just hang tight and I'll pop back in. Hopefully that doesn't happen today. So welcome. Thank you for choosing to be here with us today. I want to start with a little bit of celebration because she is on here with us. If you get our monthly newsletter, you see the very first thing that we do is celebrate the good. And we give a Spotlight in SES Math Award to one of our wonderful special ed math teachers. And I had the opportunity to go out and observe Saida Siddiqui in her classroom teaching students. And she had middle schoolers in the floor with Starburst, and they were doing amazing things. It was great. They were grasping the concept. So her coordinating teacher also nominated her. So we went out today to recognize her, and they made a big deal, music and everything. It was great. It was a lot of fun. The kids were dancing and cheering. So she's on here with us. Give her congratulations. And I know some of you who are on here with me. Trisha's gotten one of our awards before. And if you get our newsletter, take a look at the top where we have a nomination area. You can nominate some of your workmates, coworkers, or nominates anyone you know who teaches math and does a good job with special education students. We've awarded ICR pairs, and we awarded one general ed teacher at a high school. So congratulations again, Ms. Siddiqui. So our purpose today is, again, just to collaborate. I want this to be a collaborative space where you share ideas and ask questions. And we want to talk about, of course, using Open Up resources. Not going to quite talk so much about Open Up today, but I will have space at the end for Q&A if you have any questions about specific things. We're going to talk a little bit about fractions as they relate to ratios and subitizing. There is a link for a parking lot in your agenda as well. This is I always check this at the end of every meeting. If you have a question that you want answered anonymously, and I can email it to the group, or something you'd like for me to get back to just you about after our meeting today, I'll be happy to get back with you about that. Don't forget to sign up in Wake Learns and get your CEUs. And just review our norms. Give yourselves permission to be fully present today. Take full advantage of this hour to learn and grow. Be an active participant and listener. I know I love it when people are active and listening and participating, and it's more of you talking than me talking. Seek to understand, not just to be understood, and tend to your personal needs as they arise. Okay, so just to review, we have our experts in the field out there working in this essentials every day. And some of you have opened up your classrooms and you've shared information. We really appreciate that. So if you have questions, these are the people to contact, in addition to contacting us here. If you want to observe a classroom, we're going to offer that opportunity to some of you, and these will be the people you'll be seeing in action. Okay, so for today's inclusion activity, you're going to choose one of these. I love this because I love to see the way that everybody thinks. Everybody thinks a little differently. So you're going to choose the one that you feel does not belong. And I want you to put it in the chat, but don't hit enter. And we're going to all hit enter at the same time. So thinking about this, choose the one that you think does not belong. I'll give you 30 seconds or so. And then I'll share which one I think, and I want to hear why some of you think some others don't belong. Okay, so I'll type mine in the chat. We're all going to hit enter. All right, 3, 2, 1, hit enter. Lots of clock. Anvil, nose. Okay. I said horse because it's the only thing on here that's a living thing, but nose is also attached to a living thing. So I don't know how that works. Anyone else want to share theirs? I'd love to hear some. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
So I chose, what did I choose?
Clock.
Chose a clock because a horse has a nose and you use an anvil to make horseshoes. So it all related to horses to me, but I don't think a horse cares about a clock.
Great
So
thinking. Very good. I didn't think that way. Anyone else want to share theirs?
I chose anvil because the only word doesn't have O in it.
Oh, okay, good. That's looking at the words. Great. I'm loving this. Now this is, yeah, it's starting to come together for me. Anyone else?
I can go.
Okay.
I shared nose because I thought not being nosy should be a quality of everybody. And horse is like galloping through your way, watching the clock, and everything needs a recipe to success. So I thought nose is the only one that is standing out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. It's great to see how everyone thinks differently about that.
can I change my answer?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm going to change it to anvil because the other three have a face.
Oh, that's true. Well, yeah, a nose is on a face or associated with a face,
Right.
I
It
guess.
has a
Yeah.
face.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, that's good. When I found this online, it didn't really give any right or wrong answers. So I think you all are pretty much hitting it on the head. Would anyone else like to share before we move on today? Okay. Practicing my wait time there. So just to recap what we did last time. Last time, Angela and Matroba shared a little bit about their use of the interactive notebook. Angela shared some electronic formats that she uses, and Matroba shared the more hard copy. We also shared ratio bingo. I got the opportunity to go out to Moore Square, and I think they tracked out. They might be tracked out. I got the opportunity to go out to Moore Square and actually play ratio bingo with a class, and so I really had a lot of fun. And I was surprised at how quickly, when we just took those little green and yellow squares and made equivalent ratios, how quickly the students were catching on just through playing the game. They had talked a little bit about it in class, but just through playing the game, they really caught on. We reviewed some resources, and we'll have Q&A time again today at the end of our session. So just want to move right into subitizing. So how many of you know what subitizing is and have used it in your instruction? Just hit the hand raise button. No judgment, because subitizing was not like a hot button word until 4 or 5 years ago. When the first time I heard it, I didn't know what it was. So what subitizing is, and you can lower your hands, thank you. What subitizing is it's the ability to suddenly see the amount of a number. So we subitize. I always think about dice. I think I learned to subitize playing a dice game. I learned what the 3 pattern was. I learned what the 2 pattern was. We subitize pretty quickly as young children. However, some children may not grasp it as fast as others. Subitizing 1 through 3, they feel that children entering kindergarten should be able to do that, and children subitize through about 5 is pretty easy. It also helps when you're saying that your students. I hear a lot of you saying, "Oh, they can't add and subtract." When I got to watch some students try to add 4 and 4 during the ratio bingo game, we would put 4 squares out, and then I would add 4 more and I'd say, "How many does this make? How many does this make?" They were having to go back and count all the way from the beginning. They were having to count up rather than count on, rather than say 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it really is an important strategy to teach our students and to reinforce even at the middle school level. It can help students with all subject areas, not just all areas of math, not just addition, subtraction. So Kathy has made this video because she can't be with us today. So she went above and beyond, and I want to send thanks to her if she's watching this. I will be sure to reach out to her as well. But she made this about subitizing and what it is. And then I'm going to show you probably most of this video, and then I'm going to show you an example of her using it in her classroom with middle schoolers, so that you can get an idea of how to use it in your classroom. So let's kind of make this bigger. Okay. If you can't see or hear, just pop it in the chat.
Hello, my name is Kathy Sargent, and I am an EC teacher at Neuse River Middle School. I'm very excited to be doing my very first Screencastify. I'm really hoping it lasts until the end of my video, since this is my take 2. But anyway, today I've been asked to speak with you about subitizing. I am a former math foundations trainer for Wake County, and I have been subitizing in my classroom for about 10-ish years now. And I believe that it is super important for not only regular ed teachers, but also special education teachers to be checking for subitizing to make sure that all of our students do have this prerequisite skill. So I'll be giving you a brief overview of subitizing and discussing why and how I teach subitizing with you today. So to start with a subitizing overview, subitizing is a fundamental skill in the development of students' understanding
It'll pick back up. I hit a button.
Of number,
Okay,
and it means to instantly see how many. Its origin is from a Latin word meaning suddenly, and some researchers have seen subitizing as a developmental prerequisite to counting, while others have viewed subitizing as a rapid form of counting. There are 2 different types of subitizing. There's perceptual subitizing and conceptual subitizing. So instantly seeing how many is, like I said, what subitizing is. And it really is a student's ability to look at a certain number of dots and be able to put a number with the number of dots that they see. So that really is the beginning part of what subitizing is. The first type of subitizing is called perceptual subitizing, and it's recognizing a number without using other mathematical processes. So for example, if I were to hold up a die that had 5 pips on it, within about 2 seconds or less, students would be able to look at those 5 pips and understand that that represents the number 5. If I held up another die and it had 1 pip on it, then students would understand that that 1 pip represents the number 1. That's what perceptual subitizing is, instantly looking at those dots and knowing how many dots there are, whether it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. People are not able to subitize numbers greater than about 5 or 6. So I subitize up through the number 5 with my own personal students. Conceptual subitizing is like the next higher level up for subitizing. Conceptual subitizing plays a more advanced organizing role by recognizing number patterns as a composite of parts and as a whole. So for example, when looking at that domino that shows 8 pips, a perceptual subitizer may be able to see that as 2 separate groups of 4, but may struggle to then look at the whole domino and recognize that those 2 separate sets of 4 also work together to compose that higher unit of 8. So conceptual subitizing is being able to look at those 2 separate amounts and be able to put them together to compose or create a higher unit. Not only can you subitize with individual dots or dominoes, but you can also use your fingers. So just one more example of conceptual subitizing would be if I hold up 2 fingers on this hand and I hold up 1 finger on this hand, then a conceptual subitizer will see this as 2, this as 1, but then they'll also be able to say 2 plus 1 is 3. So that's what conceptual subitizers are able to do. When we're looking to conceptually subitize our students, we want to create and use patterns through conceptual subitizing, so to help our students develop abstract number and arithmetic strategies. Students who cannot subitize conceptually are handicapped in learning arithmetic processes, such as using the counting on method. And if you think about it, if students don't understand how higher numbers are composed of lower numbers, then it's going to be very hard for them to understand the composition and decomposition of number, to understand concepts such as the base 10 number system, such as understanding, when you're talking about decimals, or when you're talking about fractions and you have to take a higher unit and decompose it into lower units. All of those concepts really do tie back to the basic concept of subitizing, understanding that the individual units can be composed, you put together to compose a higher unit. So why should we subitize our middle school students? When we look at research, some special populations find subitizing particularly difficult, and only a minority, 31% of moderately handicapped children, and a slight majority, about 59% of mildly handicapped children, can successfully subitize sets of 3 or 4 items. And in my opinion, it is our job to find those students who are not yet able to subitize and teach them this important skill. And this is not only for our Math Essentials kids, but I also remediate my ICR students when they come to me for their pullout group. We work on subitizing with them on an as-needed basis, at least one day per week, until they have shown me that they are proficient subitizers. So how do you subitize? I give my students a recording sheet that is numbered 1 to 20 with the date at the top. And there are 4 columns on the sheet, and then I run it front to back. Once students have dated their paper and I let them know that we're getting ready to subitize, I always hold up a sample card to make sure everybody can see that card, because if you have one student who their angle is wrong or something, you want to fix that before you start and they've missed problem number 1. So I believe you'll see a video of me modeling subitizing at some point during this training. You'll see me hold up a card with a different amount of pips ranging from 0 to 5. I think the video doesn't include any zeros, but I do sometimes put zeros in there for approximately 2 seconds, and then have students write down the number of pips they see. So when you see me in the video, you'll see me say number 1, get ready, and then you'll see me hold up a card with a number of pips on it. The reason I say the get ready piece is because you'll see me scan my eyes to make sure that all students' eyes are on me. If all students' eyes are not on me and I'm only holding up a card for 2 seconds, then by the time they finish doing whatever it was they were doing to not pay attention to me, they've already missed a problem. And it's not that they couldn't subitize, it's that they weren't focused. So the whole get ready is to make sure everybody is focused and not erasing or something. Then I'd say number 2, get ready, make sure all eyes are on me, and hold up the next page. When you are subitizing students, it is super important to have the discussion with them that they do not draw the dots that they see on their paper, because they don't have enough time. I can subitize and students answer 20 questions in probably 3 minutes. Once they understand the process and they know it really doesn't take more than about 3 minutes to subitize 20 numbers, and it may even take a little bit less than that. So what do I consider proficient? I consider students are proficient with perceptual subitizing if they are able to score 100% for 3 consecutive sessions. If they score 100 the first time, 100 the second time, and then 95 the third time, that is not a proficient subitizer, and I make them start their 100s all over again. It has to be 3 100s in a row. Once they have mastered that, then I do some higher level subitizing with them, but it's not on as a consistent basis. I'll be honest about that. My focus is to make sure that all students are able to do the perceptual subitizing first, and then I tend to remediate the conceptual subitizing more through my curriculum. So I want to leave you with a challenge. I challenge all of you to check for subitizing proficiency in your Math Essentials and your ICR classes, and to remediate them as needed. Trust me, it will be worth your time and effort. And then finally, I want to share a true story. When I was first learning about subitizing, again, I had gone to a Math Foundations training, which changed my whole world. I had a 7th and 6th grade combined Math Essentials class. I'm pretty sure that I had 21 kids that year. And I was doing everything that I could think of to teach them how to solve one-step equations. And this was before hands-on equations had come on the scene in our county. And I had Dr. Valerie Faulkner, who was in there helping me, and they just weren't getting it. I had tried one thing, tried another thing, tried what seemed like 100 things, and they still weren't understanding. Went to Math Foundations training, learned about subitizing, came back, and I said, maybe they can't subitize. And when I did their baseline assessment, I found out indeed they could not subitize. If my memory serves me right, I know I had some people who were at 0% proficiency when I did the baseline. Most of them fell somewhere between 20 and 40% proficiency on their baseline. So I started working with them, and I started teaching them how to subitize, just numbers up through 5. And as their subitizing proficiency became proficient, a lot of the skills that I had been trying to teach them and try to help them understand, as soon as the class became proficient subitizers, all of those things that I had been trying to teach them, they suddenly started to get. And it truly was a life-changing moment for me, because I watched with my own eyes students struggle with the Common Core standards, which is what we were teaching at the time, or teaching the state standards, and struggle with it, and then watch them go from being non-proficient subitizers to proficient subitizers, and watch the movement in their mathematical ability instantly start moving forward. It has always stuck with me, and I have always remediated with subitizing in the middle school setting ever since then. So I encourage you to do the same. Again, my name is Kathy Sargent. I am a EC teacher at News River Middle School. My email is ksargent, SARGENT, @wcpss.net. Feel free to reach out with me if you have any questions about this presentation. I hope you guys enjoy the video and have a great training. Talk to you soon. Bye.
So, what questions do any of you have about subitizing? I think it's a very powerful thing that she shared the story about. They were doing a much more complex math skill, but the subitizing was able to help the students in there. So, what questions do you have? I have linked some videos in this presentation that I've shared with you, and you have it in the agenda slides as well. And there are some other videos in here that you can watch. They have one subitizing by levels, and then they have the breaking apart to make 10 example there. But I'm going to show you Kathy's video from several years ago, just so you get an idea of what she was talking about, how she holds it up, says, get ready. And when you hold, I have the 3 dots on here. When you, there's also subitizing slides out there. You can find them online just by Googling them. When you, hold it up, it has to be quick, almost instant. 1, 2 down, 1, 2 down. It's a very quick skill we want to build in our students. And again, they just write the numeral, not they don't draw the dots or anything like that. So I'm going to show you this video of her doing this really quickly in her doing this in her classroom. And if you want to watch more, you're more than welcome to do that on your own time. I'm trying to move forward to her. Okay, there we go.
Never hurt to hear them again. In just a minute, I'm going to hold up some pictures that have some pips or little black dots on them. There's going to be up to 5 different pips on the piece of paper. I want you to look real quick. You're going to have about 2 seconds, 1 second, real quick, and then you're going to write the number of dots that you see down. I do not want you to draw the dots on your paper. I want you to write the number. So if I hold up a piece of paper and it has 2 dots, then you're going to write the number 2. If I hold up another piece of paper and it has 5 dots on it, then you write the number 5. Does anybody have questions? Now it's going to go fast, so you have to pay attention. If you miss it, okay, don't worry about it. Pick up and go to the next one. So don't stop me, because I'm not going to go back and show it a second time. Yes, sir? Yes. On your piece of paper, you have 4 columns, because our goal is for you to subitize with 100% accuracy. That's my personal goal for you. All right? So what I love about this sheet is that the next time you see it, you're going to be able to know what percentage you're at. If you're at 100%, we want you to stay there. If you're at 80%, we want you to increase, just like when we do our multiplication tests, right? We want you to keep increasing every week. That's what we want to see with your subitizing grades as well. Are we ready? Does anybody have questions? All righty, here we go. Get ready. We're on number 1, column 1. Ready. Number 2, get ready. I need all eyes on me before I'm going to show it. Get ready. Number 3. Number 7. Get ready.
Okay, so if you'll notice how quickly that she holds them up for the students. I don't know if a copy of that sheet is, but you can email her and ask her, Brittany. I'm sure that she would be more than happy to share. I think she's tracked out right now, but when she comes back, yeah, you can use it. And she just numbers. It's just numbered 1 to 20 in 4 different columns. So they're doing it over several days. Can everybody understand why this is such an essential skill for our students? You know, it reminded me going out to classrooms and seeing kids have to count up instead of being able to count on. It really reminded me that how important this skill is. I'm also training to be an instructor in foundations of math, and I did a little video on it. So I really got an understanding of what subitizing is and why it's important. There are also subitizing dots that will have like 3 red and 2 black, so that students can start seeing, oh, 3 and 2 make 5, that numbers are composed of other numbers. And it really helps kids start to understand our base 10 system, so that when she was talking about decomposing, they can decompose those numbers using base 10 blocks or whatever strategy they're using, so that they can decompose numbers in the base 10 system. It really helps them see that where that breaking apart is important. Okay, what other questions or reflections do you have about that before we move on here? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is fractions. So why are fractions so important for our students? Okay, here's one of the reasons right here. This meme is going around the internet, so I thought it would be appropriate to share. In the 1980s, A&W tried to compete with McDonald's by making a quarter pounder. Compete with McDonald's quarter pounder by making a third pound burger at a lower cost. However, people didn't believe that it was bigger than the quarter pound burger. So they stuck with that quarter pounder. I actually kind of looked this up and it's not true, but I have noticed that a lot of adults don't understand that 1/3 is actually larger than 1/4. So there are a lot of adults who have those misconceptions with fractions, and a lot of that has to do with the way we were taught when we were younger. I remember coloring in the things and all that, but I really didn't get a sense of a conceptual sense or a chance to get my hands on fraction bars and things to make to understand common denominators or equivalent fractions. So it's very important. And also research also shows us that when our students can gain an understanding of fractions, they can actually do better in higher level math when they're moving on into high school. So it's very important that we teach the fractions sense to our students. And fractions is where most of you are teaching about ratios. Fractions and ratios are related. We know they're not exactly the same, but when students can have a sense of equivalent fractions, they can start understanding that multiplicative relationship between two equivalent ratios. So you may have a kit like this at your school. It should have two sets of dice in it labeled with like 1/12, 1/4. It has all the different types of fractions in the instruction booklet, which I'll show you. And then the fraction strips, a bunch of them in here. They have the strips that are both unlabeled as one whole and the ones that are labeled with one whole or whatever fraction portion it is. There's also at least one magnetic one in there for you to stick on your board. I think Kathy had those behind her. And then there are all the others. There are like the thirds are labeled, some are unlabeled. One of the reasons these are like, you could make this into whatever fraction number you wanted to without labels. One of the reasons that they encourage using the fraction bars without labels, I would begin with the labels with the ones on them. But one of the reasons they encourage you to use the ones that are blank is because that you want to show students that 1/3 is not always this big. 1/3 is relative to the size of the one whole that you're using. So we want to make sure that our students grasp that concept that 1/3 is not just always this much, and 1/3 is relative to the whole. And so I had the opportunity at the Math Summit to play some of the games from this book. Uncover and Uncover version 2, which were in there, were really, really great games to help me understand equivalent fractions. And I think I'm going to make a little video and share that in our newsletter about those maybe in the future. I don't really have the document camera to show you today. Maybe it's something I need to work on next time. But I am going to share some virtual fraction manipulatives with you that are in the agenda. So if you look in the agenda, there are the virtual manipulatives there. They're from Didax. So if you don't have fraction bars at your school, you can certainly use Didax's free ones there. And then I'm just going to also share in the chat the math games that we're going to look at and use today. When I was playing along with this, I was thinking, wow, if I had this when I was a kid, I would really understand common denominators a lot better than I did. Oh, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share with you the Didax screen. You're welcome to play along if you want to. And if you want to look at the comparing pairs sheet, that's this one here. So the way what the students would do is use either their fraction bars. You also have them in your Arrive Math game kits. So you have a set. they are made to come apart. So you're not doing anything bad if you take them apart or anything like that. They're made to do that. They just come in this nice little organized thing here. So you do have access to these at your schools, hopefully as well. So if I want to compare 1/2 and 3/8, what I'm going to do is go over to my my screen here with the didactics fraction bars. Now I have the choice here of either to show the fraction or to not show the fraction. There's also an option of using a number line where you can drag, I think you can drag a fraction tile on the number line, and then it'll show you how many thirds it takes to get to 1 whole, etc. So if you do want to clear that, you can clear that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Our first comparison was 1/2 to 3/8. So I'm going to start by putting up my 1/2, and then I'll find the 1/8. So if I were to ask students which was larger, 1/2 or 3/8, a lot of our kids are going to say, well, 3/8. 8 is bigger. But then when we can show them that using the fraction strips, then they really start to understand that, oh, okay, 3/8 is really lower than 1/2. What's equivalent to 1/2? Well, they can start playing around here and see that 4/8 is equivalent to 1/2. When you want to clear it, you can either just hit erase or just hit the hit this button down here at the bottom. Okay. All right. So, well, let me go back. All right. So, next one on here, I'm going to move on down here to maybe one that, let's do 1/4 and 2/8. So if we just were to ask our students, okay, 1/4 and 2/8, they can start to see that 2/8 is equivalent to 1/4. So when you're building that multiplicative relationship with ratios, they can also see that, you know, 1 out of every 4 is also equivalent to 2 out of every 8. There is another game on here that's what's missing. This is great for those ones for filling in the blank for these equivalent ratios. So 1 to 2 is also equivalent to what to 16. What they would do for that, they go here, put in their 1/2, and then what I'm looking for is the number of 16ths that make 1/2. So I'm going to go back here, find the 16ths, which are tiny. I'm going to line them up until I get I think you can double click them. I'm not sure about this one if you can double click. No, you have to drag them. So they're going to line them up here. This is why I kind of like, it's kind of hard to line up for me on here, because you have to line them. It won't line them up automatically for you. And so the kids have to line them up. So they're going to actually end up with 8/16, and if they're a little bit off, their answer is going to be a little bit off. But they can see there that 1 to 2 is equivalent to 8/16. So very valuable tool for instruction for our kids. Let's make sure I got that right. Okay. So these are some great games that you can play with the students. And I've shared the worksheets. Feel free to copy them. They also have an opportunity on this one for kids to make up 2 of their own, solve both and explain one. And there also, you can, put your equivalent ratios up on the board and have them start working on that from there. So is this a helpful thing? And are there any questions I can answer for anyone here? Please check at your school and see if you have a Maryland Burns fraction kit. I'm sure you have one somewhere. They might be in a closet put away somewhere. Yeah, it is really helpful. First time I did this, I thought, wow, if I were taught this way, I wouldn't have this problem. Like when you're looking for a common denominator for 1/2 third, the kids can kind of play around with what fits within these. So 12ths would work, right? I have 12ths in here. 12ths will work. But I could also if I want to find the lowest common denominator, I can see that it takes 3/6 to make a half. I want to stick. Takes 3/6 to make a half. Doesn't want to stay. And then, it would take 2/6 to make 1/3. So that 6 could be a common denominator for those. Yes, there are very flat boxes. I think Stephanie found 3 at her school. So yeah, it is a flat. I'll shut the lid on this one and show you. And yours might not be as shiny, new, and pretty as this one. This is one we use for training. So yours may be a little bit older than that, but they are really easy to miss. But if you don't have one, we can maybe find a way to get one. Or if you're winning if you are a recipient of our Excellence in Math Award, this is what Saida got in her to use in her classroom today. So we are giving those out as prizes. So I'm just going to go back here. I do want to show you something I learned about yesterday. And this is really exciting. I'm going to share a webinar video that I went to, but I think you're really going to like this. I'll let you watch the webinar and play with this. I learned by playing. I learned by putting my hands on things. So I'll let you watch the video and then play as well. But has everyone heard of Lexiles and Quantiles? It's made by Metametrics, and Lexile gives an approximate reading level by grade. And then there's Quantiles, which measures an approximate math level by grade. It's there'd be like 390 Q. A student's approximate quantile shows up on EOG reports. I have not been able to locate it on a STAR report, even though I did see where STAR had used that before. But if you go to this website, let me go back. I've got to find it. I bookmarked this thing. I was so excited about it. And where did I lose it? I lost my website. There's a Lexile and Quantile hub that we have because we are a partner state with the state of North Carolina. So if any of you are also supporting ELA, this would be a great website for you. So it's hub.lexile.com, and it does have the quantiles in it as well. You are, it's going to ask me to sign in. You are allowed to sign up for this because you are a North Carolina teacher. So please, when you do that, please use your WCPSS email, and it will make sure it keeps you and doesn't kick you out. So why would this be a valuable tool for us? Couple of reasons. First of all, we have in here our math skills database. So let's say that something comes up in your grade level. You're teaching 6th grade, so you're going to choose your North Carolina standards. And let's choose one of the standards you're working on now. So working on grade 6. And let's say you're working on this ratio and proportion and understanding concept of a ratio. So you're going to click search. When you click that, this is quantile scale skill or something like that. Don't worry about that. We're just going to click right here and write the ratio to compare two quantities, and it opened up a new window for me. And these are the knowledge. This is the knowledge cluster of prerequisite skills, the skills the students need to have, and then the skills that they're going to learn in the future. So what you can do is click on this, and it's going to bring up under resources. It's going to bring up all of the resources that you can use to teach that with your students. So they have some simple probability of simple events. That is one it's a supporting skill. But what I really liked about it is we're able to go, I'm going to go back here. We're able to go back to these prerequisite skills. So let's click on, this is 190 quantile, which is a pretty low entry point. That's almost elementary level. right here, we're able to go back here. And if I need to pull up some supporting skills from lower grade level, then I'm going to click here and click the resources. And I've got resources about comparing, I don't know why, it's symmetry, all these things in here. And it's going back to geometry. But you are welcome to take a look around in this and play with it, register for an account, and see what you can do. Identify equal and unequal measures of regions. There's some great skills there, halves, thirds, fourths that support fractions. So whatever skill you're working on, you're able to take that skill. So we were able to take this 6th grade writing ratio and compare two quantities, and then track that skill. We're able to backwards map that skill as far as we can go, looking at these prerequisite skills to help us scaffold a little bit in our classrooms. I just learned about this yesterday, so I know that I might not have given the best explanation, but what questions do you have? I'll put this in here as well. And it is free. We have the free premium version. Free you would go. When you first get on the website, you're going to see Lexile stuff. When you go back to you're going to see Lexile tools here. But you're also going to make sure you scroll down and see your, it was the skills database. That's what you want to use. You can also find the grade level charts. So if you want to know about where a student is, there's a grade level charts there to help you as well. They list the, or if you want to know what grade level standards you might need to scaffold down to, you can look at the quantile score that it gives you next to each skill. I played around with it a little bit last night, and I think the more that you play around with it, the more it becomes helpful to track those skills, or to find the skills. So if we're in, so one of the 7th grades is the circles. I was looking at that. We want to go down to our geometry standards, understand area and circumference of a circle, can find it, and it's going to give me the skill. So say I'm working on investigating relationship between diameter and circumference of a circle. Then I would go here. It's going to open a new window, and I can go back to those prerequisite skills. Even multiplying or dividing 2 decimals, we can go back there. Multiplying with mixed numbers and word problems. If that's not far enough back, we can go back to multiplying 2 fractions. We can keep clicking prerequisite skills until you go as far back as you would like to go. And there are your resources for that. So what questions do you have about the hub? I'd love to hear how you're using it. I think it's a great place to pull scaffolds and supports from. It's not exactly a pretty user-friendly site, but it's really fun to play with. So any questions about that? Yes, vertical alignment. That's what this is all about. This is basically our vertical alignment. I know I've shown you the vertical alignment document and several things. That's what it is. It's our vertical alignment document all in one place. I had no idea it existed until yesterday. So it was great. When I share with you I usually send out the recording. I'll send out the WebEx recording from DPI. Everything is shareable. They're encouraging you to share with anyone else in your schools. So if you want to share that with somebody else, I think it would be a great resource for us. So what questions do you have before we close out? And I'll just save some time for just general questions at the end. So what I would like for you to do for me today is share your notices and your wonders. It really helps me to plan the next PLC based on what your needs are and the needs of your students. So if you would have some wonders or some things that you notice based on what we covered today, go ahead. I put the Jamboard in here. I did make sure everybody could edit it this time. I have a habit of doing that, but go into the Jamboard and share your notices on one page and your wonders on the other. And while you're doing that, I will go ahead and take questions. Anyone have questions related to Open Up, essentials, skills? We've got Trisha here with us who can help us answer them too. I have a question for some of you on here as well. It came up yesterday. I was talking about doing model lessons. I did a model lesson and somebody asked me if I recorded it. And I know we always can't go out to classrooms, and I'm always happy to come to your classroom and do a model lesson, but would having videos somewhere of model lessons help you? Would that be a helpful thing to you?
Absolutely, it will.
Okay, okay, yeah. As we're moving through, yeah, I did one with ratios, and the kids really caught on. Have your kids put their hands on it just as much. We use these little. I have these. I think there's some in your Arrive Math kit too, but you probably have them in your school. The shape blocks.
Mm-hmm.
We sorted by color and we sorted by shape, and then they gave me ratios by color. Then they gave me ratios by shape, and then I said, well, look around the room and come up with some ratios. And they were able to tell me students to teachers, green boxes to white boxes. I mean, they were really thriving with just identifying a ratio. Now, in the case of our students, we may have to go back and, it may take 2 or 3 days of teaching it, but they really seem to catch on that first day and have some understanding of what a ratio is.
Miss Elliott, I have a question. So I noticed that you're focusing on the 6th grade curriculum for Open Up. So how about the 8th grade? I'm teaching Open Up 8th grade, and I find it challenging.
So if your students have had trans math or not been exposed to Open Up in the past, we're encouraging everybody, no matter what grade level they're teaching, to teach this starting with the 6th grade, because the 3 levels do build on each other. So that's one of the reasons we've been focusing on 6th grade. So if you have all 3 grade levels, or you have,
I have only 8th grade.
Only 8th grade, yeah. If they've not been exposed to the curriculum in any other math class, I would start with them with 6th grade.
Okay, even though they did a trans math last year?
Yes, because trans math probably didn't really expose them to ratios, equivalent ratios, just some fraction things like that. But yes.
Okay, so the whole school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade will do the 6th grade curriculum,
you
right?
can, yeah, your essentials can do that, yes. Yeah.
So because I was teaching, I started with Open Up first transformations and moving in the plane. I find it challenging for the kids. Very challenging.
They probably need that sense of the coordinate plane too.
I did everything. I searched every method. I drew the coordinate plane on the floor. I made them move. I did shapes. I cut out shapes. The thing now, it's challenging because the kids they are seeing every single day. They're seeing something new. For example, negative numbers, number line with negative numbers and stuff, and how to move. Rotation is a challenging even for typical kids.
For me, yeah.
I mean, that's why it's sometimes when we're exposed to, I went and I searched the scaffolding thing that you provided on the math sheets, and still it's challenging because I am an ICR teacher in 8th grade math also, and this is challenging for me because I know typical kids struggling with dilation, rotation, and stuff, and I come to my class and I start teaching the same thing, and it's really frustrating, to be honest.
Trisha, go ahead.
Having a good foundation of ratios is going to lend itself really nicely to their understanding of constant of proportionality in 7th grade, and then slope and scale factor in 8th grade. So if you go back to that 6th grade and really teach that well, and then for the visual, when you can expand it up for 8th graders, you can touch on it. When you do, when you talk about scale factor a little bit, or you're doing some ratios, you can talk about it as a ratio, because it is.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then you can also show them, but I would use patty paper as much as possible. Your school should have a huge pile.
Yes, I do. We do have them.
And so that was helpful in helping my 8th graders understand that we're sliding. And then or flipping or whether we're turning. So I
Okay.
don't know if that's helpful for that part, but I would definitely go back to the 6th grade and really make sure they have a good foundation of ratios. Because like I said, that'll help them with both the 7th grade when they're talking about scale factor and constant and proportionality, and then we'll lead into slope.
All right. Thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
Tricia, I'm sure you would be willing to lend your support and help with lesson planning if she's really stumped in a certain area, or anyone else is.
Sure.
Trisha's
Thank
done
you.
this for a while, and I know Matroba would be, and Angela would be willing to help as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So if you have done your notices and wonders, it is 4:43. If you don't have any questions to stick around for, I hope you all can go outside and enjoy the nice weather we've been having. I hope you like the fall as much as I do. And I want to hear if you've been start practicing some subitizing and with those fraction games in your classroom. I'd love to hear about it. So if you don't want to stick around, you don't have to. And I hope you have a great weekend.